The Rolls-Royce Ghost rolled to a smooth stop beside the curb, its polished black body reflecting the warm glow of the Manhattan sunset. Pedestrians slowed instinctively, some raising their phones, others simply staring. Cars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars did not usually stop in this forgotten corner of Harlem. The rear door opened. Marcus Kingston stepped onto the sidewalk. At 43, Marcus was the youngest billionaire in New York's real estate industry, a man whose face appeared on magazine covers more often than movie stars. His tailored charcoal suit fit perfectly, yet there was nothing arrogant about the way he carried himself. Years of success had never erased the quiet discipline that had lifted him from poverty. His bodyguard remained several feet behind, scanning the street. Marcus barely noticed. He had come for the same reason he came every Thursday evening: Grace Kitchen, a small non-profit restaurant that prepared thousands of meals for homeless families. Inside, volunteers greeted him with familiar smiles. "Mr. Kingston," one elderly woman beamed. "Right on time." He smiled back. "I promised I'd never miss Thursday." For the next hour, Marcus served meals, wiped tables, carried heavy boxes, and laughed with children who had no idea. They were joking with one of America's richest men. No cameras, no interviews, no publicity, just people helping people. As the dinner service ended, the kitchen manager handed Marcus a neatly wrapped takeout container. "You forgot to eat again." Marcus chuckled. "You know me too well." He thanked everyone, shook hands, and stepped back outside. The city had changed. The orange sky was fading into deep blue. Streetlights flickered to life. Marcus leaned casually against the Rolls-Royce and opened the container. Grilled chicken, rice, vegetables. Simple. Comforting. He had barely lifted the first forkful when a tiny voice stopped him. "Sir?" He looked up. A little black girl stood several feet away. She couldn't have been older than 8. Her oversized hoodie hung almost to her knees. The knees of her jeans were torn. Her sneakers were so worn that one sole had been repaired with gray duct tape. She held an old pink backpack tightly against her chest. Not because it was valuable, because it was everything she owned. Her curly hair was messy, and exhaustion surrounded her young face in a way no child should ever wear. Still, she stood with dignity. She wasn't begging wildly. She wasn't crying. She simply waited. When Marcus met her eyes, she lowered her head politely. I'm sorry to bother you." Marcus immediately lowered his fork. "What is it, sweetheart?" She hesitated. Embarrassment flushed across her face. "My mommy hasn't eaten today." Marcus's expression softened. "We've been trying to find somewhere to sleep." Her voice grew quieter. "I saw you leaving with food." She swallowed. If you're not going to finish it." She looked away, ashamed. "Could I have your leftovers?" Silence. The city seemed to disappear. Marcus stared at her. Not because of what she had asked, but because of the way she asked it. No entitlement, no manipulation, only desperate politeness. His throat tightened. He slowly knelt until they were eye level. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Lily." "How old are you, Lily?" "I'm 8. "And your mother?" "She's waiting around the corner." Marcus looked toward the empty street. "Why didn't she come with you?" Lily defended her instantly. "She doesn't like asking people for help." Marcus nodded slowly. Neither did his own mother. Not 25 years ago. He looked back at the meal in his hands, then at Lily. Without a word, he placed the unopened container into her small hands. "You don't have to eat leftovers." Her eyes widened. "You can have the whole dinner." She blinked rapidly. "No, I couldn't." "Yes, I already touched it." "I don't care." "But you deserve a warm meal." For the first time, a tiny smile appeared. The kind only children can produce. Pure, unfiltered. Hope, she whispered. "Thank you." As she hugged the container tightly, something slipped from beneath her hoodie. A small silver pendant, heart-shaped, old, scratched. Marcus froze. His breathing stopped. No, that couldn't be. The pendant swung gently in the evening breeze. Inside the cracked silver frame, half of a faded photograph. Marcus instinctively reached beneath his shirt, hidden against his chest. He wore an almost identical pendant. His fingers trembled violently as he pulled it free. Same scratches, same shape, Same engraving. His meal slipped from his hand. The plastic container crashed onto the sidewalk. Chicken, rice, vegetables, scattered everywhere. Lily jumped. So sorry. Marcus wasn't listening. His eyes remained locked on the pendant around her neck. His own heartbeat thundered inside his ears, because 20 years ago, there had been two matching pendants. One had stayed with him. The other had disappeared forever. Lily looked at him with frightened confusion. Mister, Marcus could barely whisper. Who gave you that necklace? Lily instinctively wrapped both hands around the pendant, as if protecting the only treasure she had left. Her eyes darted from Marcus's trembling face to the matching necklace hanging from his chest. She whispered. My mommy gave it to me. Marcus's pulse pounded so loudly that he barely heard her. When? He asked, struggling to steady his voice. When I was little. Lily! His words came slowly. Have you always had it? She nodded. My mommy says I have to wear it every day. Did she tell you where it came from? Lily looked down. She said it belonged to someone who loved me before I was even born. Marcus's breathing became shallow. His fingers tightened around his own pendant. Only two people had ever known the truth about those necklaces, him and the woman he had once planned to marry. 20 years earlier, they had stood beneath an oak tree in Savannah, Georgia, laughing like the future belonged to them. They had bought matching lockets from a street artist, splitting a single photograph between them as a promise. No matter what happens, she'd said, we'll always be able to find each other. 3 weeks later, she disappeared. No goodbye, no explanation, only silence. Marcus had searched for months. Private investigators, friends, hospitals, nothing. Eventually, everyone told him the same thing. She left. Move on. She chose another life. He never truly believed it, but after years without answers, he forced himself to. Now, a little girl wearing the second pendant stood barely 3 feet away, his entire world tilted. Before he could ask another question, Lily glanced nervously toward the opposite end of the street. My mommy's waiting. Marcus followed her gaze. A woman sat on a bus bench beneath a flickering street light. Her head rested against the glass shelter. Even from a distance, something felt wrong. She wasn't moving. Lily. The little girl smiled politely. Thank you for the food. She turned and ran toward the bench. Marcus remained frozen. His bodyguard, Isaiah, stepped closer. Sir? Marcus didn't answer. His eyes stayed fixed on the woman. As Lily reached her, she gently shook her shoulder. Mom. No response. She shook harder. Mom. Still nothing. The smile disappeared from Lily's face. Mom. Marcus's instincts exploded. He was already running before he realized he'd moved. By the time he reached the bench, Lily's small voice had become desperate. Mom, please wake up. The woman slowly opened her eyes. She looked pale, far too pale. Sweat covered her forehead despite the cool evening air. She tried to smile at Lily. I'm okay, baby. But she wasn't. Marcus knelt beside her. I'm calling an ambulance. The woman grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. No. You need medical attention. No hospital. Her voice was barely audible. We can't afford... Marcus interrupted gently. I'll pay. Her eyes finally met his. For one brief second, everything stopped. Recognition. Not certainty. Just the strange feeling that she'd seen him somewhere before. Marcus felt it too. Her face was thinner, older, exhausted. But something about her eyes, something about the way they searched his face, pulled at a memory he couldn't quite reach. She released his wrist. We're fine. Lily looked at her mother, then at Marcus. No, we're not. The words broke his heart. Children usually tried to protect their parents from embarrassment. Lily was simply telling the truth. Marcus looked around. The backpack. One worn blanket. A grocery bag containing 2 bottles of water. That was everything they owned. How long have you been sleeping outside? The woman hesitated. A few nights. Lily quietly corrected her. 3 weeks. Her mother closed her eyes. Marcus understood immediately. She had lied to preserve what little dignity she had left. He respected that. My name is Marcus. The woman nodded weakly. Tara. Nice to meet you, Tara. I wish it were under better circumstances. Marcus looked at Lily. Would you both come with me? Tara's expression changed instantly. No. It's not what you think? No. You don't even know where I'm taking you. I don't need to. Fear. Not suspicion. Fear. The kind born from experience. Marcus recognized it. Someone had broken this woman's trust before. Repeatedly. He spoke more softly. I'm not asking you to trust me. She remained silent. I'm asking you to trust your daughter. Tara looked at Lily. The little girl clutched the untouched dinner with both hands. Mom. Her voice cracked. I'm so tired. The sentence was barely louder than a whisper. But it landed like an earthquake. Tara lowered her head. A tear slipped down her cheek. She had lost the battle every parent dreads. The battle against believing they can still protect their child alone. Marcus took a business card from his wallet and placed it on the bench. No pressure. If you change your mind, there are 2 hotel suites waiting. No cameras. No publicity. No expectations. Just beds. And breakfast. He stood. If you decide not to come. He reached into his jacket and handed Lily another card. Call this number anyway. My assistant will make sure you never go hungry again. Marcus walked back toward the Rolls-Royce. He had taken only a few steps when Isaiah's phone vibrated. The bodyguard glanced at the screen, then frowned. Sir? Marcus stopped. What is it? Isaiah's expression hardened. I just received tomorrow's security briefing. Marcus barely listened. Cancel whatever meeting I have. Isaiah looked up. No, sir. This isn't about tomorrow. He turned the phone toward Marcus. A photograph filled the screen. It had been taken only minutes earlier by one of Marcus's security agents positioned across the street. The image showed Lily, the pendant, and Tara, zoomed in on Tara's face. Marcus felt the blood drain from his own, because beneath 20 years of hardship, there was no doubt anymore. Isaiah whispered the words Marcus couldn't bring himself to say. Sir? I think that's Elena Brooks, the woman Marcus had buried in his heart 2 decades ago. The woman everyone insisted had abandoned him. The woman who was supposed to have vanished forever. Marcus couldn't breathe. The city disappeared into silence. Traffic still flowed. Horns still echoed through the streets. People still walked past the bus stop without noticing anything unusual. But inside Marcus's mind, time had stopped. He stared at the image on Isaiah's phone. Older, thinner, her once vibrant smile replaced by exhaustion. Yet those eyes, those unmistakable hazel eyes, he had dreamed about them for 20 years. It can't be, he whispered. Isaiah lowered the phone. I had our facial recognition. Team compare the image with archived photos. From your old security records. Marcus looked at him. 96.8% match. Marcus swallowed hard. Run it again. We already did. Again? Isaiah nodded immediately. Yes, sir. Marcus turned back toward the bus shelter. Tara, Elena, was helping Lily zip the oversized backpack. She moved carefully, almost painfully. Every movement suggested fatigue. Every smile looked forced. Marcus remembered another Elena, a woman who laughed until tears rolled down her cheeks, a woman who danced barefoot in the kitchen, a woman who believed impossible dreams could become ordinary life. What had happened to her? Why had she vanished? And why was she homeless? His chest tightened. If she truly was Elena, then Lily? No, he couldn't think that far ahead. Not yet. He needed facts, not hope. Hope had nearly destroyed him once before. Isaiah stepped closer again. Our investigators just sent another report. Marcus took the tablet. The file was almost empty. Name used, Tara Brooks. No employment history. No active driver's license. No registered vehicle. No current address. No social media. No bank accounts. It was as if the woman had deliberately erased herself from the world. Marcus frowned. Nobody disappears this completely. Isaiah nodded. Unless someone helped them disappear. Marcus looked up sharply. What are you thinking? I don't know yet. Isaiah paused. But this doesn't look voluntary. Marcus's jaw tightened. It matched what his heart had believed for 2 decades. Maybe she hadn't left. Maybe she never had the chance. Before he could say another word, Lily suddenly looked over her shoulder. Her eyes met Marcus's once more. She smiled. A tiny, grateful smile. Then she waved. Marcus instinctively waved back. Lily tugged gently on her mother's sleeve. They began walking toward the subway entrance. Marcus watched them disappear into the crowd. Every instinct screamed the same command. Follow them. But another voice stopped him. If Elena had spent 20 years running from something, having strange men chase her through New York would only frighten her. No surveillance, Marcus said quietly. Isaiah looked surprised. Sir? No drones. No tail. No private investigators following her tonight. What if we lose them? Marcus kept his eyes on the subway entrance. If she's really Elena? He swallowed. She's already spent 20 years losing her freedom. I'm not taking away what's left of it. Isaiah nodded. I understand. Marcus climbed into the Rolls-Royce. The door closed softly. For several minutes, he said nothing. The driver waited. Finally, Marcus spoke. Take me home, 40 minutes later. The elevator doors opened directly into Marcus's penthouse overlooking Central Park. Normally, the view calmed him. Tonight, he didn't even look outside. He walked straight to a locked room at the far end of the apartment. Few people even knew it existed. Isaiah remained outside. Marcus entered alone. The room looked less like part of a luxury penthouse and more like a forgotten museum. Boxes, photo albums, old letters, a faded varsity jacket, newspaper clippings, a cracked cassette tape, memories, every one of them connected to Elena. He hadn't touched this room in nearly 10 years. Slowly, he opened the largest storage box. Inside lay dozens of photographs. There she was, standing beside a lake, laughing as rain soaked both of them, holding his hand at a county fair, smiling beneath an enormous oak tree. Marcus's fingers stopped on one particular photograph. The same day they had bought the pendants. He lifted it carefully. The heart-shaped necklace around Elena's neck. Exactly the same. His breathing became uneven. He reached into another box. Inside rested a thick manila folder. Across the front, one name. Elena Brooks, Private Investigation. He opened it. Every investigator had reached the same conclusion. Subject disappeared voluntarily. No evidence of foul play. Likely changed identity by choice. Marcus closed the folder in disgust. No, you were wrong. He looked once more at the smiling young woman in the photograph. You never would have abandoned me. His phone vibrated. Isaiah, Marcus answered immediately. Tell me. Silence. Then Isaiah spoke. Sir? Our team finished comparing another record. Marcus waited. The birth certificate. Marcus froze. What birth certificate? Lily Brooks. His heart pounded. Isaiah's voice had become unusually tense. It lists... He stopped. As her father... Marcus gripped the phone so tightly his knuckles turned white. Say it! The father's name is blank. Marcus closed his eyes. For the first time in 20 years, hope entered his heart, and it terrified him more than grief ever had. Marcus didn't sleep. The lights of Manhattan faded one by one beyond the glass walls of his penthouse. But the city never truly became quiet. Normally, the distant hum of traffic helped him think. Tonight, it only reminded him that somewhere beneath those millions of lights, Elena and Lily were trying to survive another night. He stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows, the two halves of the heart-shaped pendant resting side by side in his hands. For 20 years, he had believed one chapter of his life had ended. Now, it felt as though it had never truly closed. At exactly 6 a.m., Isaiah entered the penthouse carrying a thick folder and a tablet. I've got something. Marcus turned instantly. Tell me. Isaiah laid several photographs across the dining table. After you left Grace's kitchen, our team searched every public shelter within a 5-mile radius. Marcus leaned over the pictures. Nothing? Isaiah shook his head. No. They've never checked into a shelter. Marcus frowned. So where do they sleep? Isaiah touched the tablet. Security footage appeared. Marcus watched silently. Lily and Elena leaving the subway. Walking 6 blocks. Crossing an abandoned industrial district. Finally disappearing inside an old church. Marcus looked up. They're staying there? Isaiah nodded. The pastor confirmed they only come after dark. They refuse a permanent room. Why? He says Elena is terrified that if government agencies become involved... Isaiah hesitated. Someone will take Lily away. Marcus closed his eyes. Fear. Every decision Elena made was driven by fear, not pride, not stubbornness. Fear. He looked back at the screen. Lily was helping another elderly homeless woman carry grocery bags before entering the church. Even with almost nothing, she still helped someone else. Marcus smiled sadly. She's just like her mother. Isaiah nodded. And maybe... He paused. Someone else. Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "What about medical records?" Isaiah's expression darkened. "We found one." Marcus immediately sensed bad news. Elena collapsed 2 months ago. Diagnosis? Severe anemia. Marcus relaxed slightly. Treatable. Isaiah didn't respond. Marcus noticed. What aren't you telling me? Isaiah slid another report across the table. She never completed the tests. Marcus looked down. Hospital records. Appointment canceled. Follow-up missed. Medication never collected. Reason? Unable to pay. Marcus slowly lowered the paper. She hadn't refused treatment. She simply couldn't afford to live. The realization hit harder than he expected. A billionaire who owned thousands of apartments had somehow failed the one woman he had promised to protect. His phone suddenly rang. The screen displayed an unfamiliar number. Marcus answered. "This is Marcus," a soft little voice replied. "Hi." He froze. "Lily?" She sounded relieved. "You remembered my voice?" Marcus smiled despite himself. "I don't think I could forget it." For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Finally, Lily whispered, "I used your card." Marcus glanced toward Isaiah. The assistant immediately began tracing the call. "Is everything okay?" Lily hesitated. "My mommy doesn't know I called." Marcus's heartbeat quickened. "Why not?" "Because she'd be upset." "Why?" Another long silence. Then, "She got really sick this morning." Marcus's stomach tightened. "Did she faint again?" "Yes. Is she awake now?" "I think so." "You think?" "She's pretending to sleep." Marcus understood immediately. Parents often pretended everything was fine. Children usually knew better. "Lily." He kept his voice calm. "Where are you?" "I can't tell you." Marcus frowned. "My mommy said never tell strangers where we are." He couldn't help smiling. "She's right." Lily sounded surprised. "Really?" "Yes. You should always listen to your mother." She seemed to think about that. "Okay." Marcus chose his next words carefully. "What made you call me?" The answer came instantly. "Because you didn't look at us the way other people do." His chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "They either feel sorry for us, or they're scared of us." "But you looked." She searched for the right word. "Happy." Marcus looked away. Happy wasn't the word. Hopeful was. Very quietly, he asked, "Can I speak to your mother?" "No." "Is she sleeping?" "No." "Then why not?" Lily lowered her voice even further. "Because if she hears your name..." And she starts crying. Marcus's entire body went still. Isaiah slowly looked up from the laptop. He had heard every word. Marcus swallowed. "Has she ever said why?" "No." "Does she know who I am?" "I don't think so." "Then why does she cry?" Lily answered with heartbreaking innocence. "Sometimes she says a name when she has bad dreams." Marcus felt his pulse pounding again. "What name?" Silence. Then, Marcus." The phone slipped slightly in his hand. 20 years. 20 years of believing she had forgotten him. And somehow, his name was still haunting her dreams. Before he could speak again, Lily gasped. "Oh no." Marcus straightened instantly. "Lily? My mommy's awake." Footsteps echoed through the phone. A woman's weak voice called from somewhere nearby. "Lily?" The little girl whispered urgently. "I have to go." "Lily, wait!" Click! The line went dead. Marcus remained frozen, staring at the silent phone. Isaiah slowly closed the laptop. "Sir?" Marcus looked up. "We're not dealing with a woman who stopped loving you." Isaiah's voice was calm. "We're dealing with a woman who's been hiding from something for 20 years. Marcus looked back toward the skyline. For the first time, he no longer believed fate had reunited them. Someone had torn them apart, and Marcus Kingston had just made a silent promise. No matter how powerful that person was, no matter how long it took, he was going to uncover the truth. Marcus stared at the dark phone screen long after the call had ended. Only 3 words echoed inside his mind. She says your name. Not with anger. Not with hatred. In her nightmares. For 20 years, he had imagined every possible explanation for Elena's disappearance. He had convinced himself she had fallen out of love, started a new life, or simply wanted to forget him. Now, for the first time, none of those explanations made sense. He turned toward Isaiah. I want everything. Isaiah nodded. You already have a team. Marcus shook his head. No. I don't want investigators looking for a missing woman. He paused. I want investigators looking for whoever made her disappear. By noon, Marcus's private conference room had transformed into a war room. 3 retired FBI analysts, a former NYPD detective, a cyber forensics expert, a financial investigator. Large screens covered the walls. Photographs, maps, timelines, bank records, every known detail of Elena Brooks's life. Marcus walked to the center of the room. Forget the last 20 years. Everyone looked at him. I want you to investigate this as if Elena vanished yesterday. The former detective frowned. Why? Marcus placed both halves of the heart pendant on the table. Because someone wanted us to believe she left voluntarily. Silence filled the room. Then the cyber analyst spoke. If that's true, someone erased her. Marcus nodded. Exactly. Hours passed. Nothing. Then, one analyst suddenly looked up. Marcus. Everyone turned. I found something strange. The room became silent. He projected an old hospital record onto the screen. Savannah Memorial Hospital. Date? 20 years earlier. Marcus immediately recognized it. It was only weeks after Elena disappeared. What am I looking at? He asked. The analyst zoomed in. Patient name, unknown female. Age, approximately 23. Admitted after a serious car accident. Marcus frowned. That could be anyone. The analyst continued. There are no fingerprints. No identification. No emergency contact. Nothing. Marcus folded his arms. So? The analyst enlarged one sentence. Patient was approximately 8 weeks pregnant. The room fell silent. Marcus felt every muscle in his body tense. 8 weeks. He mentally counted backwards. Impossible. The detective spoke quietly. Marcus, you and Elena were still together then. He couldn't answer. His mouth had gone dry. The analyst continued. The patient disappeared from the hospital 3 days later. Marcus whispered. Disappeared? No discharge papers. No transfer. No death certificate. She simply vanished. Isaiah slowly looked toward Marcus. Someone removed her. Marcus's breathing became heavier. He looked at the grainy hospital photograph attached to the file. The woman's face was partially hidden beneath bandages. Almost impossible to identify. Almost. Marcus leaned closer. His heart skipped. Around her neck, a broken chain. No pendant. Because the pendant had already been taken. At that exact moment, across the city, Lily sat beside Elena inside the basement of St. Mary's Church. Rain tapped softly against the stained glass windows. The church smelled of old wood and warm soup. Lily quietly opened the dinner Marcus had given them the night before. She had carefully saved half of it. Mom, Elena smiled weakly. You eat. We can share. I'm not hungry. Lily crossed her arms. That's what you always say. Elena laughed softly. Even exhausted, she couldn't win an argument with her daughter. They divided the meal equally. After a few bites, Lily looked up. Mom? Yes? Who's Marcus? The fork stopped halfway to Elena's mouth. The color drained from her face. What? The man from yesterday. No. I mean, the Marcus you say when you're sleeping. The room became painfully quiet. Elena lowered her eyes. For several long seconds, she couldn't speak. Finally, very softly. He was... She smiled through tears. The kindest man I ever knew. Lily blinked. What happened? Elena stared into the distance. I lost him. Did he leave? Elena immediately shook her head. No. I did. Why? A tear rolled down her cheek. Because I thought... She couldn't finish. Lily reached across the table and squeezed her mother's hand. You still love him? Elena closed her eyes. Some questions children ask have no safe answer. Back in Manhattan, Marcus's phone vibrated. It was his lead investigator. Sir? We found another witness. Marcus stood instantly. Who? A retired nurse. She worked the night that unidentified pregnant woman disappeared. Marcus grabbed his jacket. Where is she? Queens. She's 81. And she says... The investigator hesitated. Yes, she remembers a wealthy man arriving just before the woman vanished. Marcus froze. A wealthy man? Yes. He wasn't family. He wasn't hospital staff. But everyone obeyed him. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Did she give a name? No. But she remembers one thing. What? He wore a gold signet ring with the letter K engraved on it. Marcus instinctively looked at his own hands. He had never owned such a ring. But someone else had. Someone powerful. Someone he hadn't spoken to in years. Someone whose face suddenly appeared in his memory. His father. William Kingston. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. Because 20 years ago, his father had desperately wanted him to end his relationship with Elena. And William Kingston had never taken no for an answer. Marcus didn't remember driving to Queens. One moment he was standing inside Kingston Tower. The next, his black Rolls-Royce stopped outside. A modest brick apartment, building where 81-year-old Margaret Holloway had lived for nearly 4 decades. Isaiah opened the door. Our team has already verified her identity. Marcus nodded once. Let's go. Margaret answered the door herself. Though her hands trembled with age, her eyes remained remarkably sharp. You must be Marcus Kingston. He offered a polite smile. Thank you for seeing me. She studied him for several seconds before stepping aside. I've been expecting this day. Marcus stopped. Expecting? She nodded sadly. I always wondered if someone would finally come looking for the truth. Those words sent a chill through the room. Minutes later, old hospital records covered Margaret's dining table. She carefully removed a faded photograph from a yellow envelope. I kept this. Marcus looked down. His heart nearly stopped. It was Elena. Bruised, bandaged, but unmistakably Elena. She was asleep in a hospital bed. One hand rested protectively across her stomach. Marcus couldn't speak. Margaret gently touched the picture. She was terrified. What happened? Margaret sighed deeply. She was brought in after a terrible crash. She had no identification. No memory. Marcus frowned. No memory? The doctors believed she suffered traumatic amnesia. Marcus slowly looked up. You mean... Margaret nodded. She didn't even know her own name. The room became silent. Everything Marcus had believed for 20 years began collapsing. She never abandoned me? He whispered. Margaret shook her head. No, she couldn't remember you. Marcus closed his eyes. For 20 years, he had mourned a choice that Elena had never made. Margaret continued. For nearly 3 days, she kept asking the same question. Marcus leaned forward. What question? Why does my heart feel like I'm forgetting someone? Marcus felt tears gathering in his eyes. She didn't know your name, Margaret said quietly. But she knew someone was missing. Isaiah suddenly interrupted. The wealthy man? Margaret's expression changed instantly. Fear. Real fear? I remember him. Marcus's voice became firm. Tell me. He arrived late at night. He wasn't alone. There were lawyers, security, doctors. He spoke privately with the hospital director. Marcus's jaw tightened. What happened next? Margaret swallowed. The next morning, the young woman was gone. Marcus's breathing became uneven. Did you try to stop them? I was only a nurse. I had no authority. Marcus nodded. He understood. She had done what she could. Then Margaret looked directly into his eyes. There was something else. What? He told us that if the girl ever remembered her previous life, both she and her unborn baby would be in danger. Marcus froze. His unborn baby. The room fell into complete silence. Isaiah looked toward Marcus. Neither man needed to say it. The dates, the pregnancy, the pendant, the nightmares, everything pointed toward one impossible conclusion. Lily wasn't just connected to Marcus. She was almost certainly his daughter. Marcus stood abruptly. I need DNA confirmation. Isaiah nodded. I've already prepared the paperwork. Marcus looked surprised. You expected this? Isaiah gave a small smile. I hoped. That evening, Marcus returned alone to Grace's kitchen. Not because he expected to find Elena, because that was where everything had begun. He stood outside with 2 fresh dinners. One for Elena, one for Lily. Hours passed. The sun disappeared. Volunteers locked the doors. Still, Marcus waited. At nearly 9 o'clock, a familiar little voice broke the silence. You came back. Marcus turned. Lily stood beneath a street lamp. The pink backpack still hung from her shoulders. He smiled. I said I'd make sure you never went hungry. She smiled back. I knew you'd come. Marcus knelt. I brought dinner. Lily accepted the bag, then looked unusually serious. My mommy wanted me to give you something. She reached into her backpack. Carefully, she removed an old envelope. Its edges were yellow with age. Marcus frowned. What's this? My mommy said, if I ever met a man named Marcus, I should give him this. His hands began to shake. Very slowly, he opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. The paper had been folded for years. Across the front, written in faded blue ink, were 5 words. For Marcus, if I remember. Marcus stared at the handwriting. He recognized it instantly. Elena's. A tear rolled down his face before he even unfolded the letter. Because suddenly, he understood. Somewhere in the darkest corner of her broken memories. She had always believed that one day she might find him again, and she had prepared for that day long before either of them knew it was possible.